What's going on, guys? Zach with Melrose Design Company, and today I'm going to show you guys how to make a Kreg router table insert on your miter saw stand. So stay tuned. Come on, let's get down. Oh. I forgot to mention in the intro that I'll be linking the miter saw build at the top here, and also at the end of this project. Starting this build off, I measured 2 inches from the end of the miter saw station as a reference line for the plate. Placing the Kreg insert on the table, I outlined the plate, which will be used later for the template. Using some scrap wood, I cut out 4 pieces that will be used as a guide for the router. I tried using some double-sided tape here. It didn't go so well, so I scrapped the idea and went for some spray adhesive. I'll end up sanding the adhesive off later. Taking that first piece of wood, I lined it up with the pencil mark I made earlier. I inserted the plate and lined the template up flush with the plate. Once this was lined up, the Kreg plans called for a 1.5 inch Forstner bit to drill down 3/8 of an inch on all 4 sides. I'd recommend going a bit deeper here so you can bring the plate up higher later with an adjustable screw. Using my square, I measured the depth of the template and added 3/8 of an inch to check my depth of the bit as I bored into it. It's important to keep the bit as plumb as possible so you don't get any gaps later on when you insert the plate. And here I'm just checking the depth of the hole. I bought this router bit that is designed to follow the template with the bearing at the top. Setting the depth of my plunge router, I noticed the template wasn't high enough for the bearing to follow along with. I took another piece of wood and doubled the thickness to get a good depth for the bearing. You want to make sure to take the material out in several passes here. Pulling the template off was really quick. A quick push to the side took it right off. Now that the lip was routed out, I could then drill a hole to allow the jigsaw blade to cut out the middle portion. It doesn't matter how it looks too much here since it will be hidden by the plate. I wanted to make sure I didn't get any splinters when I was taking the plate out, so I did a little surface sanding here. The first time you go to insert the plate probably will result in it not fitting. That's perfectly fine. That means your gaps will be really tight once you sand down the edges. I took some sandpaper and sanded down the tighter areas. It took a few times, but I eventually got it to fit. You can buy these Kreg insert plates pre-drilled for your router. However, I wasn't 100% sure about the orientation of my router below, so I opted to drill my own holes to give them some flexibility with the direction my router would be in. Drilling the holes a bit bigger than the thread of the screw, I drilled out all 4 holes that my router needed. I then took a countersink bit and drilled it out, making sure to go just deep enough so the heads of the screws wouldn't be showing. Placing the plate on the router, I put all 4 screws in and plopped it back into its place. I opted for the DeWalt here because I could raise the height using the turn knob. I'll link it below. Finally, it was time to route out the area where the Kreg track would be inserted into. You should probably use a straight edge guide here, but I wasn't able to clamp it down, so I opted to freehand it. It worked out better than I expected. Taking the track over to the miter saw, I cut it to length. I really wish I could find some paint that matched because you can see the silver on the ends and it drives me nuts. And now that the track is screwed in, I can move on to building the fence. I really wanted to go for something simple, quick to build, and something that could offer some dust collection features. I'll probably end up rebuilding this later down the road once I test out the prototype. Good thing about the fence is I was able to use the scrap left over from the miter saw build station. Now that it's all glued and nailed together, I marked the center out where I would drill the hole to accommodate the vacuum hole. You can build this a lot more thought out than this, but the way I'm using it, it works out well. I went ahead and marked out the 2 holes that would accommodate the bolts for the track. Putting it on the bolts, I made sure that the fence could move back and forth freely. Now that the fence is on, I dropped in a chamfer bit, tightened it up, and did a little test run. A little side note here, I didn't show how to level out the Kreg insert plate. There's a lot of other material that you can find on YouTube. Just figured it would get a little too convoluted for this video. I hope you didn't get too bored with this build. I was originally going to include it in the miter saw build, but I figured that would be a little too long. Oh yeah, speaking of the miter saw build, you can actually find that right here. I hope you watch it and let me know what you really think. I want to ask you to like and subscribe if you found this video a little bit helpful. I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll see you down the road.